Beyond.
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 Yeah, that was
Okay.
good.
Okay, great. Thank you for that, ladies and gentlemen.
you're only perpetuating the relationship.
Yeah, and I love that.
It's making it better and better.
Damn it. All right, welcome to Podcast Beyond, episode 453. I'm Max Scoville. Joining me, Brian Altano.
Hey, guys.
Zach Ryan.
Greets.
And Lil Donnie Dornbush.
Hello, yeah, that's my name now.
Jonathan Dornbush, who's
It's on video. So.
yeah, little miniature Goldfarb.
Second appearance on the show,
Coming
right?
here with
Yes,
noises.
that's
Well,
right.
third if you count the
drunk, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the drunk.
The drunk.
The drunk.
That's what
We rarely
Three
count the
times on the
drunk.
show. That's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming back.
Thank you for having me back.
Marty and Alana are actually doing a live stream of We Happy Few right now, so they are not here.
to Xbox game.
I think it's on PC. Actually, I don't know.
Yeah.
Traders.
All right, whatever.
Sellouts.
They've
We're
never
sort
appeared
of
on an Xbox show.
sort of on a weird energy right now because we're at Comic-Con all weekend for the most part, and now we're back at the office, and it's weird because there's there's no celebrities here. There's
That's
no
true.
there's none of those
Yeah.
Walking Dead people going
We
around.
got
I'm
so
looking
used
at three
to
right now.
we got used to rubbing shoulders with celebs that now we come back to these normal people and it just
norms.
doesn't feel the
Yeah.
same.
Yeah, it was a fun show. It was a really good show.
fancy, huh? Yeah, let's talk about that for a second. It's not obviously a huge game convention, but there is there's some game stuff that goes on there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What Brian, you were doing like live show segments. What did you see?
Did you see Telltale's Batman at all, Brian?
I did, yeah. Well, Telltale.
Heard it was there.
Troy Baker was on our show with Telltale's Batman. What's going on?
Turn both of the lights on. There we go. Thank you.
Sorry.
Great. So if you're watching this at home and it just got brighter and then darker and brighter again, we're learning how to work the lights here. We're doing a let's play of the lights.
Yeah.
Melissa Hutchinson of Walking Dead was on. She plays Clementine. And Troy Baker was on from Telltale's Batman. He plays Batman and Bruce Wayne. And I did some digging around, and I realized that in the past he's also played
Joker?
Two-Face, the Joker, and Robin,
Right.
which is pretty crazy.
And Lego Batman.
And Lego
He's done,
Batman.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What
which
did
is
he play? What did he play Robin on?
I think it was the same one he played Joker in.
Oh.
Yeah, a couple Batman games ago, maybe.
Wow.
Yeah, we got to look it up.
They made a lot of Batman games.
Yeah,
so.
I get them all mixed up. But yeah, and then Lego Dimensions was also on our show. They brought by their entire new wave of toys. We'll talk about that a little later.
They showed off the Adventure Time set, which
yeah.
looks awesome.
I played some of it at E3
Yeah.
too, and
Super cool.
Yeah, I think a cool thing about Comic-Con is that the new Batman game was one of our presenters, and they had images on the monitors behind us the entire week. And celebrities would come by who don't play video games, and they'd see the trailer for the new Telltale's Batman game, and they're like, "What's this? They're making like a new Batman cartoon? Oh, it's a video. You played on your Xbox, huh?" Man, video games are really growing up. And I'm like, this is great. Like, the cast of The Walking Dead is reacting to Telltale's Batman. So there isn't a ton of video game stuff specifically at Comic-Con, but there were some cool surprises. Like, I played Pac-Man Championship Edition 2? Not
Yeah.
DX2, right?
I think it's just
Yeah.
Edition 2.
So that was really cool. I got to check out the NES Mini, and we'll talk about how that works for PlayStation a little later on. Resident Evil 7 was there with a VR demo.
It was just the kitchen, right?
The kitchen one.
It's
basically
the same demo as the E3 demo.
No, it's the one that's been around for
new one?
ages. It's
Oh,
the one that
the actual kitchen demo.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
you can
okay.
play it with VR. So there was a huge line for it, and I'm like, wait, haven't most people tried this already? But anyway, it's weird to see Comic-Con try to find its voice because there's like, the comic part of it is so subdued in the corners. The sort of artistry.
games part of it.
The games part of it too. Yeah, I mean, I'm bouncing around.
Sure.
But like movies and TV and DC, Warner Brothers, Marvel and Star Wars and Hasbro, toys and stuff like that take such a huge role there. And like you can find toys based on video games. There was that new statue based on Horizon. But in terms of like a dedicated game section, we get there on preview night every year. We rush to the corner where they hide all the game stuff, and we start looking around, and we're like, and it's not that much.
Yeah.
It's frequently stuff that they already had at E3.
Well, and it's so small too that like when I came to look for you guys on preview night, I was asking people that worked for Comic-Con, and I was like, "Hey, I'm looking for the video games," and they're like, "Oh, we don't know."
Yeah.
Like,
I think
okay.
it's more indicative of the people working there than it is.
No,
the
I mean it's
actual-
also that's
Yeah.
probably representative of just how much games are represented at Comic-Con. I mean that is it's a cultural event based on the complete other side of the spectrum
Yeah.
of the
I
culture.
mean, of
you know
that
what I mean?
entire show floor,
Sure.
it's numbered up to 6,000 or whatever
Yeah.
it is. Games are maybe in the first 200.
Yeah.
Yeah, and,
Yeah.
And that's it at
also
best.
the biggest activation in the game section was Splatoon, which I thought was really weird.
Yeah, that was
Splatoon
very
had
odd.
a
Yeah.
giant booth,
Yeah.
but yeah,
I think they're trying to sort of angle it like PAX to a degree, where fans get together and play cool stuff. Nintendo's angle was decidedly retro, and I don't mean just like NES. I mean like they were talking about stuff like they had Mario Kart 8 and Donkey Kong Country Returns.
Yeah.
Sony just straight up
So
isn't
they're going
there.
for just a wider audience appeal, maybe.
Did you say whiter?
No, I did not. Max, did you get to play anything?
Not really. No, I mean, wait, did I? I mean, I played Dragon Ball Xenoverse for a second.
Sure.
Yeah.
But it was mostly just I was checking out toys and stuff and
Yeah.
a lot of that stuff. I did have one really cool game-related moment. I ran into Kojima.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was really cool because I was just geeking out, like hanging out at the Hot Toys booth and looking at like new Star Wars figures and stuff. And I look over and there's Ken Imizumi, who's like the producer, and I knew him from when I went to Japan for Ground Zeroes, and he's like a really, really cool guy, just like super.
Yeah, Ken's
good guy.
super nice. Yeah.
So I just went up and I was like, "Oh, hey, good to see you. How you doing?" And then I look over and like right next to him is totally drawing a blank, Yoji Shinkawa.
Yeah.
And they're just, and I'm like, "Oh, I recognize you," and he's, and I'm just, I'm like, I don't want to be annoying, like I never like, "Oh, can I have a picture?" And he's just like, "Hey, good to see you." And I'm like, "I'm glad you guys are like laying on your feet. Like Death Stranding looks really cool. It's awesome. I'm really, happy that that's still a thing." And he's like, "Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We're still sort of figuring out what it's going to be." I'm like, "Yeah, I hear you're shopping around for engines."
Yeah.
I'm like, "But I don't know what it is. So that's fun." And then he's like, "Do you want a picture with the guys?" And I was like, "I mean, okay, And I was like, I'd never go up and like ask for that, but he offered. And then he just like DM'd it to me and was like, "Post this on your Twitter." And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And then I was like, "Thanks for taking this picture. Here, I made this." I sent this Photoshop of Big Boss hanging out with a bunch of minions. And he was like, "Kojima loves minions." And I was just like, yes. I made Hideo Kojima look at one of my bad Metal Gear Photoshops.
That's awesome.
So that was really exciting for me. Also, the big thing, they had their live stream.
Yeah.
Which was, I didn't get a chance to see it, but my sense was they didn't really show off a whole lot.
No.
They did show off a really, really cool Kojima Productions graphic.
Yeah.
Where Ludens, the Moon Man, plants his big old hologram flag.
Who is apparently not even in Death Stranding.
No, I realized who he is or why he's that. He's Ludens Kojima had this weird quote when he was first kind of starting Kojima Productions that was like, "We are not Homo sapiens, we are Homo Ludens."
Right.
Idea that there's like, oh, there's a new, it's like, new types in Gundams. It's like, oh, these are people who've grown up with video games. Like this is people who, it's like ludology or ludonarrative dissonance, whatever, that whole concept. So I think they probably wanted to call him Homo Ludens, but they were probably like, maybe don't put Homo in your mascot's name because that could just go awry.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's funny because it's Kojima in that night costume, and then he's just this.
See, and it's cool seeing him walk around, and he was hanging out with Norman Reedus for a little bit again. It kind of made me go like, oh, I wonder how their whole origin story of meeting each other started. Was it at a Comic-Con? Then Norman Reedus came onto our live show, so it was really cool to see. Like, I think we're getting there, right? We're getting closer and closer of sort of that synergy between movies and games and TV. Right now, if you look at games based on TV shows, games based on movies, movies based on games, TV shows based on games, they don't truly land all the time. They're just not great. So I think that like the idea of these people rubbing shoulders is getting us closer to it. It kind of sucks that the whole Kojima thing fell out a few years ago, but the fact that they're still making that game, I mean, if you think about it, he's empowering one of the like most known TV actors right now, Norman Reedus, on one of the most watched TV shows to star in his new video game. Like, I think that Comic-Con is a good way of bringing game directors, actors, filmmakers, cinematographers, artists all together in one place. And like the fact that Kojima was walking around taking the same pictures of toys that we were, is kind of cool because he's looking and he's like, oh, well, that's how Star Wars is doing their toys right now. I'm really excited for this. He's constantly tweeting movies and TV shows that he's watching and stuff like that. Yeah. So I think we're getting closer in terms of breaking down those walls between those industries and making something better and better, but we're not there yet.
Well, there was another thing that he tweeted out. The director of Kong Skull Island is also attached to Metal Gear, the movie.
Yeah.
And I was kind of wondering what the status of that was. Is Kojima going to be involved in it? Because obviously that's kind of Konami first and foremost. But Kojima tweeted out a photo of him with this director, and he's like, "Yeah, we're just talking about what he wants to do with Metal Gear." And I'm like, "Oh." That's reassuring. That's nice to hear. I don't know what that's going to be, but that'd be kind of awesome if that.
Even if he was there in like a consultation kind of role.
Yeah.
I mean, also the fact that like specifically, there are bosses in Metal Gear games that are just like these gigantic, terrifying, hulking beasts. And this King Kong in the new trailer is bigger than any King Kong they've ever done in any film.
So you could fight Godzilla.
Yep.
So we could fight Godzilla, yeah, which is really awesome. I mean, just the whole idea of all that coming together.
Great.
Oh, yeah.
I like the idea of knowing there are all these just empowered, awesome, creative people are making big, badass stuff.
Yeah.
So the more it comes together, the better it'll get. Right now, games being such a small part of Comic-Con, I think is only part of the issue. I think that like more game developers need to go to Comic-Con and see how movies are doing it, and more movie producers and makers need to see how games are doing it, and just everyone kind of like learns from each other and collaborates and makes cool stuff. So we'll see.
Yeah. Final Fantasy 15 Kingsglaive. That's the movie that's coming out pretty soon. That's what is it, August?
Yeah, it's getting a limited. I want to say it's the 15th, but I'm not sure that's correct.
It's got like Lena Headey and Aaron Paul and a bunch of people.
Yeah, Sean Bean is in it as well.
I really am, like, I think it looks gorgeous.
Yeah.
But I'm so scared that it's just going to be the worst.
Yeah,
thing.
so my big concern with Kingsglaive, and we saw maybe 10 minutes of it when we were in Japan for Final Fantasy 15 back in April. It was actually really funny because they showed us like the initial like battle sequence, but it was half done. So we saw it with like all these like wireframes or characters. Like you'd watch this gorgeous battle sequence and then one character would run through the frame just like. It was really fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's coming out sometime in August. I think it's the 15th. But
it
it's
hits
getting
Blu-ray end of the month.
Yeah, it's getting a limited theater run, which is actually super cool.
Yeah.
I think not many of us anticipated it to actually hit theaters. And then it comes out on Blu-ray later. So.
I interviewed Liam Mulvey, who is one of the mocap and voice actors who worked on that. And afterwards he said, "Hey, I love what you guys do in Beyond." So I was like, that's so cool. So shout out to Liam. That's just awesome that, like stuff like that. I just love hearing stuff like that like we're all kind of on the same page, just doing stupid things. Although he's doing something, I said to him, like, we just make a dumb podcast. Like you're doing something way cooler. Yeah. So check out that interview.
Kind of to your point about games and movies hanging out a little more often. Like I thought it was really super cool to see Kingsglaive in such a huge way at Comic-Con. They had a panel that Marty moderated that I heard went really well. I wasn't in attendance, but I heard it went real well. And I think that's awesome that kind of film can show up at Comic-Con and kind of hold its own.
Yeah,
It's
100%.
perfect place for it.
Yeah.
I mean, we're seeing that with, I think, digital distribution and the fact that there's like, it's easy to coordinate stuff like that. Like when movies were released in the more analog era, it was like, you have to pay for billboards and posters. And now it's like, go to the website and see if it's playing near you.
Yeah.
You can rent out 5 theaters nationwide and be like, it's playing XYZ here. I mean, that's how they do. Like, that's how Sony does like their E3 thing. You know, their E3
or
experience.
watch it instantly digitally.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
which I love because it's like and the games are doing the same thing, which is so great because it breaks down the barriers of having a brick and mortar store where you have to pay people, having to pay exorbitant amount of monies for production costs and printing cartridges or discs or putting your movie on film or keeping the lights on in a theater. You can just be like, here's our thing. Yeah. It's $2.99 and you can rent it, and it's $7.99 and you can own it and you can watch it as much as you want forever. Good luck. Enjoy. That's like super cool.
Here's something we should talk about, I guess. It's on the list. We can talk about it. PS4, Xbox One cross-network play. This is a thing that has sort of been talked about here and there.
Yeah.
Has it ever... This is a stupid question. Has this ever actually existed? Or has it always been kind of apples and oranges in terms of how these things are set up? There's
like a game or a publisher every 2 or 3 years that are like, oh, in one mode we can do this and that. Like Rocket League's really pushing for it. The main thing that people have always wanted is sort of like connection with PC gaming. Right. But it makes it so difficult because the way... So basically, if you play a first-person shooter with a mouse and keyboard, you're a ninja. And if you play it with a controller, you're slightly slower. But if everyone's slightly slower, you're all on the same page, and it's okay. So there's little idiosyncrasies when it comes to stuff like that. And then it's also the way people connect to certain paid, like online networks and stuff like that.
Sure.
Between PlayStation Plus and Xbox Live and Steam and all that other kind of stuff.
I mean, I get the mentality of like, oh, let's have a system where we can play with our friends, like regardless of what box you have in your house. But I feel like I feel like it's something where it's not going to work until we're in more like a cloud-driven future, you know? Like it really, it's just, or it's not worth the trouble right now.
Well, the team at Psyonix for Rocket League has said that they pretty much could get it up and running in a day worldwide. It's just a matter of Sony saying yes. Yeah. And they're saying Sony doesn't want to say yes until they have
That's the
everything
issue, right?
figured
It's a
out.
brand thing,
Yeah.
less so than it is a tech thing.
Yeah.
Because you see things like Paragon runs on PlayStation 4 and on PC effortlessly. Like if that was on Xbox, I'm sure it's just a question of flipping a couple switches and you could make that happen.
Yeah.
But
Save file is Xbox.
It's totally a brand thing. So. And I would love. I have so many people here in the office that are playing Overwatch on PC or Overwatch on Xbox, and I would love to play with them. But I have PlayStation 4.
Yeah, and that's exactly where it works
guys
too.
That are playing on PS4 here.
When you have a group of friends and you're all split up between consoles, then it gets kind of tricky. But if you're just connecting the random online games, it reminds me of like they had those like weird coffee commercials in the 90s where they would give someone coffee and they'd be like, did you know you were drinking decaf? And you'd be like, no, I had no idea. Like if I played a video game online and they're like, you just played against someone on Xbox, I'd be like, oh,
okay,
great,
thanks for that information.
I can totally imagine like just like a future where in the same way that like if you go on like, here's a weird reference, but if you go on like
weirder than my 90s coffee reference.
That was a pretty weird one.
It's going to be relevant in that department. But
okay,
like an AOL Instant Messenger, on your buddy list, somebody would be on mobile, and now it's like everybody has iMessage on their phones. It's just that's how it is. But there was that point where there'd be that little picture of a cell phone next to it, and you'd message them, and it'd be like, I am using a mobile device. I might not get your message. You know, like I'm never messaging you again.
Well, no, actually, that's actually a great example because like I have friends that I text with that aren't on iPhones. You know, a lot of them, and it shows up as like green.
There you go.
Or I can't text them from my computer. Like I'll sit on my laptop and I can text Max on my laptop without pulling out my phone, but I can't do that with certain other friends. I'm sure there's like an app, and you're gonna text that or tweet that at me and tell me I'm wrong.
I'm pretty sure Marty has gone on record saying that he won't date a girl that doesn't use iMessage.
Really?
Yeah,
that's rough.
If you're using SMS, get out of the way.
I mean, for me, I would never date someone who has read receipts on. It's too much pressure.
That I don't like at all.
Yeah,
I don't like
read receipts.
When you can see that they read it.
I don't like that, and I don't like knowing when someone's typing. That's nerve-wracking.
Anyway, point being, I could totally imagine a world where you go to your friends list on PSN and you see like a little green circle next to somebody because they're actually
on Xbox.
Or something.
And then what? You discriminate against them?
Somebody would, I'm sure.
I mean, I feel like
PS4 players would gang up.
I totally think.
Xbox
I mean, there's more of us.
Yeah,
well,
power in numbers.
Statistically, exactly.
I feel like this generation. I mean, aside from some minor, frame rate foibles, we're pretty much on equal footing here. And I mean, like last time around, it was like the PS3 was running on like cell processors, and it was like it was frequently the PS3 version of something just wouldn't work, or it would be a little bit clunkier or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going
to install it for 45 minutes.
Exactly. I'm not going to pretend I know a lot about net code and stuff like that, but I have to imagine that the parity is stronger than ever nowadays than it was last generation. It's sort of like this like weird utopia that's just within reach that we've never truly had before. And I think once we get it, we'll be like, oh. Thanks. Like the people who use it will really enjoy. Like you said specifically, when a big game comes out in this office, something like Overwatch, we're all like, where are you playing? Like Battlefront, I remember it was like 2 people were playing on Xbox and 20 were playing on PS4.
Yeah. And so that's like.
And then you have someone like Dan Stapleton being like, well, on Steam it's so much, and we're like, shut up, Dan.
I must have sent you guys like 30 text messages trying to decide whether or not I should buy an Xbox because they were on sale recently and I've never owned an Xbox. And it was one of those things where it was like I could play these games that I'm playing on PlayStation 4 with this crowd, and that would take that out of the equation entirely. You know, so like you could have your brand allegiance, but also play with your whole friend group. But I also don't think that'll ever happen. Like
you don't think?
I just think from a brand standpoint, I don't think that Sony and Microsoft would ever shake hands enough to.
Do you think it's because neither of them truly benefits from it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they would mutually benefit.
Yeah.
There's no one gains any more than the other. I think it would just be a matter of if enough developers were pushing for it, probably that this was something they wanted to do. Like right now, it is Psyonix for Rocket League and Gwent. Like it's 2 relatively smaller games. It's not. It's not Battlefield and it's not Call of Duty asking to do that.
I don't really see that happening.
I think it's like
Rocket League and Gwent.
No, I mean, if you're looking at 2 consoles that have a very distinct gap in player base, especially when an online game comes out, then it's a benefit to the people playing on the on the less one. But like if I'm playing a game on PS4 and I'm connecting with thousands of people every time and it's no problem, then I don't really care about anybody else, which is sort of like the first world pride. But to have somebody who's like on an Xbox and they're like, I can't connect to games. Can I play with PS4 people? We're like, yeah, I guess you can come over here and enjoy some of our resources.
Well, and a lot of Xbox games are also now, though, the PC Microsoft connection.
Yeah.
They're trying to develop that a lot. So I feel
Yeah.
like they're
They're
if they
teaming
have
up
to
against us.
Well, I mean, I think you see those verticals on both platforms, right? Like there are PlayStation games that you can go head to head on PC with PC players and vice versa. But it's like Brian said, like I would never want to play. Like I would love to play Overwatch cross-platform with an Xbox player, but I would never want to play Overwatch against a PC player because
No
they're just gonna
way.
get rocked. Like
Yeah.
those guys, the way that they play their games, it's completely different. So
yeah.
So beta signups for the next PS4 update. It's a busy news week. Lots of big news, big sorts of news. They're going to change the operating system, and they're going to sign up to see it early. What do we want to see that funny blue box do that's not already done?
Oh, I was unprepared for this question because
Does it have folders yet? That's a stupid question.
No.
No.
So
Yeah, it's
thank you
actually
for
not
bringing
bad.
that up. The first thing I would want more than anything is completely aesthetic. I want that. I want to be able to organize my homepage. My nav bar is a mess, and it's based on when I've used things last.
yes,
Recent.
yeah.
Which is I don't like. Also the fact that when I go to the media section and I pop down, there's like 10 squares there of things I will never watch, like Crackle and like
Crunchyroll.
Hey,
like.
man.
He will never watch Crunchyroll.
I will never watch Crunchyroll.
You and I
Like-
can watch
Polar Bear
Crunchyroll all
Cafe.
the time.
Those animals run a restaurant together. It's great.
Great. They can do that on a different console.
Cuticle
Get off
Detective
of
in
mine.
Naba.
Like I have HBO Go. I pay for it, and then underneath I have like HBO Now. The box is sitting right next to it. I'm
Yeah.
like, you don't need to be
also
here. Get
like
out.
to pay for 10 other services.
Yeah,
That will
yeah.
put in front of, I mean, it is a marketing.
Yeah, folders would be
Yeah.
great. I would like to just throw a bunch of first-person shooters in a folder and put a cool logo on the front. Like it's weird that like Vita lets you do that, 3DS lets you do that,
Yeah.
Wii U lets you do that.
Yeah.
All those things you can actually create a folder with a title on it, and then even on 3DS they have these like sticker badges that you can get that you can put one on top. So for Game Boy games, I have an icon of a Game Boy, and I'm like, when I want to play a Game Boy game, I
know
open
where
that
to
up
go.
and there's 20 Game Boy games in there.
Yeah.
But I want that on PS4 because otherwise, right now it's like I want to play Battlefront. Where is it? Oh. It got kicked off the timeline.
Yeah, if you haven't played it in 2 weeks, you have to go into your library.
In your library,
find it,
and then you start scrolling through all these games, or you go to like the most recently downloaded ones.
I have a folder for games in which you can have sex with an elf.
So just with The Witcher.
No, and Dragon Age
and Dragon
Inquisition.
Age, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just, maybe a Mass Effect, but you know.
Sex Elf
Do
folder.
you, I'd like to see the option to have like hotkeys. You know, like in the same way, like the 5 apps that you use the most, if you can map them to the D-pad and
Yes.
just like, okay, I need to go to the PlayStation Store, or I need
that'd
to
be
go
cool.
I need to go, like, I want to boot up Hulu, or something
Oh,
like that.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to just show
Like triple tap X for Netflix or something.
Something
like
like
that.
that, yeah.
I forget if this is. I
a
honestly
great
like.
idea.
I
Thanks, guys.
totally lose track of what's
Shuhei,
actually
you
on here, but when you go to your library, is there like a tab that just is on this console, like downloaded, or do you have to kind of
So
scroll
there's
through?
icons on each game.
Yeah.
That if
Okay, so
if
hide
there's an
all
arrow-
those PS Plus games that I downloaded to hoard and then never actually play. You know,
yeah,
like, that's
true.
what I want to just be like. What's actually here? What do I not have to?
I
Sit
think
around
what you're
for?
asking
So-
for specifically is the ability to delete games from your library, which I don't truly think you
I
can
don't
do.
want
I
to
mean,
do
you can
that.
you
I'm okay
can.
with
Well, I do because I don't want to. If I'm never going to play it again, I'm never going to download it again. I don't really need to see it. You know, like
But it makes you feel like you have more games.
yeah, but that's more garbage to scroll through.
I mean, I
and-
would like to take that. I would like to take the PT icon off of mine because when I switch my hard drive, I can't download PT anymore, and I see it on there, and I get excited, and then I get very sad that I can't play because I can't down.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Zach.
Sorry, I'll,
Poor guy.
I'll
It's
make
okay.
it.
You'll get to play
I
Death
deleted
Stranding in
PT.
2019.
Yeah.
So.
I deleted PT because I was like, I'll be able to download this again. Nope,
Ooh.
Yeah.
never
Yeah.
again.
I think a lot of people did that because that's sort of the digital future we've accepted.
Did you upgrade your hard drive? Do you have a bigger hard drive? In your
No,
PS4?
I don't.
You have the 500.
and I should because it's just.
I should upgrade mine.
Yeah.
I never have because I have PT and I'm not getting rid of
There
it.
you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was warned against that, but
Yeah.
you guys should do that. It rules.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm totally down for that. I
I
wanted to.
downloaded so many games, and like every so often, I'll just go into my storage specs and look, and it's like, oh, I
You
still
just
have
get
so much space.
You just get an external one.
No.
You actually did the whole.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's super easy to swap it out.
Yeah, I want to do that. When I'm in there, I want to start air dusting out some of that old gunk from 4 years ago too, because my PS4 sounded like a damn jet engine.
Yeah.
By the end of Uncharted
There's a
4,
dead
I was like,
Cobra
"Is there a
maybe in
plane
there?
in this game?"
Yeah.
It's quite a
so
few
we,
actually.
We started to touch on this last week. We made this cool. Who was it? We were talking about that NES Mini Classic.
Yeah,
Where Nintendo
so-
basically announced that they're putting out a little baby Nintendo.
Yep.
That comes preloaded with 30 NES games on it. It
30
costs
classic
$6.
games, first and third party. Just a good gamut of like some of their best stuff. Some of the best third party stuff. There was Castlevania. There was Double Dragon 2's on there. Just a bunch of Capcom, a bunch of Konami stuff. Ninja Gaiden's on there. It's $59.99. It comes out mid-November. It's incredibly small and adorable. I actually held one at San Diego Comic-Con, and it immediately made us go, why doesn't Sony do this? And it was interesting because between when we thought of that, Sega announced they're doing 2 versions of theirs, and they're doing one for the Master System and one for the Genesis. And I think they're around the same price, but they have like 80 games.
Yeah, it's
but
80 games.
I mean, it's
They have
sort
Mortal
of
Kombat.
they have all
blood.
3 Mortal Kombats,
They got
which
the
is
Mortal
odd.
Kombats with blood.
They also threw in a bunch of garbage. Well, the Super Nintendo Mortal Kombat had blood, but you had to put a code in for it. Otherwise, it was just green goop like
They were just
Nickelodeon
real
gags.
sweaty boys hitting each other, and the sweat
Yeah,
flies
getting
off.
that old slime out.
Doing that cardio.
So yeah, it's kind of cool. I think there's like a new market, and it's weird that companies have tested this for a little while. Like a lot of bootleg companies have done it, third-party companies have done it. Sega tried it for a while, and so did Namco with these sort of plug-and-play systems.
Yeah, Sega had the one that was like
are pretty
in a
cool.
bunch of like Urban Outfitters was the one I remember being in for a couple years where it was front and center.
My brother had one for EA
Max.
Sports. Like there was an EA Sports one that was just like NHL 94 and Madden 95 and like 5 random old EA Sports games.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping there's a renaissance of these things.
This is, I think it's awesome. Like, I think that having a sort of digital future to download stuff to a new box is great, and backwards compatibility is all well and good. But to have like, this is basically the greatest hits of a system.
Yeah.
But not having to dust off the old system.
Yeah.
So long story short, I went in the Podcast Beyond Facebook group, which you should do because it's a good place to go. It's facebook.com/group/Podcast Beyond. And I asked you which 30 PS1 games you want on a hypothetical PS1 mini. So we went through the list. On NBC, we did a little thing where we read each name of the game, and you guys gave me a thumbs up or a thumbs down based on whether or not you think it should be there. Give me like a quick sentence on if you like it or not. So let's go through these real quick. This is completely crowdsourced by the Podcast Beyond Facebook group. And here we go. Number 1, Anthony Abate, Metal Gear Solid.
Ding, 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 ding.
Thumbs up.
Yes, why should it be there?
Yeah.
Because it's fantastic and it's awesome.
Yeah, it's still probably in my top 5 favorite games of all time, and I think the original is actually super hard to come by now.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
memory serves me correctly, you can't get it for Vita anymore, correct?
Really?
I think so.
I don't think so. I think they pulled it.
And you can't play it on PS4.
If I got that wrong, please don't tweet at me.
Yeah. Number 2, Wesley Fernandez says Ape Escape.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those apes escaped.
Yeah, I got to put them
Gotta
back.
get 'em back.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a long time. They're still
like
out
where
there.
your
We got to
headphones
get them back in there. Number 3, William Robinson says Spyro the Dragon 2, Riptide's Revenge, or Riptide's Rage.
His name is Ripto,
Okay.
not Riptide, and I will not.
So it
stand
gets
for
even
that.
more confusing.
Yeah.
In the UK, Spyro 2 is apparently called Gateway to Glimmer. I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
Sounds like
because
a.
there were different. You would go through gateways.
Either way, what do we think?
Glimmer.
What do we think of William's decision here?
I
Schmidt.
love Spyro the Dragon too.
Yeah?
I love it. Yeah.
So we get a
I
hard
think
thumbs
it's
up from
100%.
Donnie Dornbush over there.
Yep.
Wait, what about you guys? Spyro? Yeah.
I don't care.
Okay.
I think it's good because
fine.
I think in terms of like
sheep.
in terms of spreading out the amount of genres you need, like it's good to have a sort of action platformer on there.
Okay. Only if they allow Skylanders integration, I feel like, for that one.
You want to
The retroactively.
No. What the hell?
Number 4, Dan Shrirock says Gran Turismo. This is a weird one.
So Gran Turismo is a weird one because it has this huge following, obviously, but it was always way too simmy for me.
Yeah.
Like I remember getting the original Gran Turismo and like trying to get into it so hard because I knew it was a great game, but it was just the customization. It's just so deep
What was
and
that?
it's so.
What was that on one Test Drive? Was that like the PlayStation? Where they had like
Maybe I don't know.
Maybe.
I think Test Drive was the more fun racing game.
So
I've never been a racing guy myself. So.
I'm okay
Mario
on this
Kart's
one.
not bad.
Mario Kart. Well, debatable.
I'm okay on this one for like this sort of historical posterity of it,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
just to be like this is where the franchise started.
Yeah.
But to me, those games were always graphical showcases, and to go back to the original one, which I haven't looked at in a while, but I can't imagine holds up incredibly well. It's
make
kind of
your
different than
eyeballs
like
bleed.
it's different than going back to like Mario 3.
Yeah.
I think Mario 3 still stands on its own, even though we've had better looking Mario games.
Yeah, this is one of those things that you always want to have the first one because you're like, oh, this is their first thing. But with games, so often second ones are often better.
Yeah.
Like, I would put Gran Turismo 2 on there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably worth it like a few laps in that game just to be like, man, this is what this looks like. Number 5, Han D. Cannon, I love that name, says Symphony of the Night. Hard thumbs
Yes.
up on this
Easy,
one.
yeah.
I mean, I would put it on there just because I love that game, but also you can get Symphony of the Night everywhere right now.
Yeah.
Still,
Sure.
So
You missed the point of this exercise, Zach. We're talking about a hypothetical product. If they were to actually do this and make like a Pocket Station, I think we'd be much more likely to see something like Symphony Night on there because
Sure.
it is like it's
it's a greatest hits collection, right?
yeah,
Like
but it
you
also
could-
it doesn't require a huge amount of power.
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
Gran Turismo 2 that came on 2 discs, I think, and it's like anything that starts getting like once you start getting like the Final Fantasies and like I mean Metal Gear Solid, I love it, but it's also full of cutscenes, and I feel like that's one of those things that would just be like.
Symphony of the Night is also much easier to emulate from a tech perspective, and we've seen that happen. I think it's
was on 2 discs.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Symphony of the Night also, I think it goes anywhere between like $8 and $15 on
depending on what platform.
Platform, and I don't think you can play it on PS4. You can. It's on Xbox One for sure. That bumps me out because I have it on Xbox One.
Yeah.
Number 6, Casey Long says Tomba.
Marty Sleva would say yes.
Yeah.
Right, so
I've actually never played it.
I guess pigs does it get some? Yeah, it is.
Yes, thumbs up to pigs.
Sure.
There's a thumbs up from Marty. Number 6, Derek Flores says Suikoden 2.
Yeah,
That's
big
the one,
time.
That's the one Jared kept talking about.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Suikoden 2 is awesome.
I need to play
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Number 8, Christopher Gresley says Final Fantasy Tactics.
Heck yeah.
Hell yeah.
Oh yeah.
What do you think, Zach? I was never truly in love with those
I think,
games.
So, like, I love Final Fantasy Tactics. I think War of the Lions is the definitive version of
Right.
that game, and that came out
Yeah.
on Vita and,
No, that's fair.
mobile. And so, I think, I mean, if you're gonna play that game, I
Play
feel
the
like War of the Lions is
Yeah.
probably a better option.
Yeah,
fair.
I understand it's one of the most widely regarded and well accepted to be loved Final Fantasy games.
Yeah, we did,
especially spin-offs.
We did that. We ranked the Final Fantasies a few months back, and people were really upset that we didn't include Tactics, even though it's
Yeah.
not
It's not
a
numbered.
So
traditional
thumbs
Final
up?
Fantasy game.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
Number 9, Jake de Agrila says Medieval.
Never played it.
Yeah, whatever. You're fine. I think that if you're gonna go in through like the catalog of PlayStation stuff, that's definitely one of those like the Skeleton Man. What's his face?
I forget his
what's
name.
Damn name.
Yeah.
He's like one of those like he was
Oh, God.
one of those like old icons, you know. Like he was
Yeah.
definitely in that like he was PS1 greatest hits.
Well, there
era.
was this period at the beginning of the PlayStation 1 where they were trying out all these different characters to kind of be a mascot, and he was definitely in that pantheon.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
Okay.
We don't remember his name though.
No.
So.
Number 10, James Wick says Parappa the Rapper.
Hell yeah.
Two thumbs way up.
It's got to be in there.
Yeah.
That's just one of those, and I think like one of the things we're kind of skipping on here is that is when you think PlayStation, that's one of the things that
Yeah.
pops in your head. It is just iconic and memorable, and just intrinsically connected to the legacy of that platform. So for sure. Number 11, Dan Cole says Jet Moto.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
That's also up there. That's
Yeah.
one of those. I just remember like old commercials like Jet Moto. Like you know, what?
It was really cool to see those kind of like extreme sport racing games back then all
Well,
the
it's also
time.
just like I love anything where they're like we're making a racing game. They're like what are you racing on? You're like jet motorcycles.
Yeah.
And you're like all right, that's not real, but why not?
Sure.
Use your imagination. It's fun.
Number 12, Billy Danger Deadman says Tomb Raider.
No brainer.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
The original?
If you're talking about PlayStation, you're talking about Tomb Raider.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's. I think anyone who's played the last 2 Tomb Raiders is in for a big cold glass of water to the
Yeah,
face
that's the
with that
thing.
one.
Yeah, no
It's
kidding.
going to be hard to go back to that. but
Yeah,
I would put Tomb Raider 1 and 2 on there.
Yeah.
Maybe even 3. I don't know. They were just like nah.
definitely 1 and 2. Actually,
It was actually.
time out real quick before we move on to the next one.
Yeah.
Did you guys see the story about the original Lara Croft skin available in the PlayStation 4?
Yes, we talked about it last week. It's so good.
I
I'm
didn't see
so.
the show last week.
No,
I'm sorry.
I'm so happy that's in there.
I'm playing the whole dang game like that. It's gonna be real.
Yeah.
It's gonna be very
Real unsexy.
Talk about ludonarrative dissonance.
Number 13, Ross Alexander says Final Fantasy 6. Now here's where it gets crazy. There's a ton of Final Fantasies on those consoles. But
Yeah.
So
But so 6 was re-released on PlayStation with Chrono Trigger,
Yeah.
I
Which
believe,
is
in Final
actually-
Fantasy Collection.
spoilers. This is that's the last one
Yeah.
on the list.
So yeah,
If
this
you're
guy's
gonna-
talking about it here,
If you're gonna
and-
throw with the added cutscenes,
Yeah.
the Toriyama ones, which are just badass.
Yeah, they're so good.
I'd throw that game on there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which also that was a huge issue with that being backwards compatible on PS2. I remember
Right.
like that was hard to run for whatever reason.
Yeah.
So I mean, if they figured out how to take that whole disc and drop it on a little box,
In the same
Yep.
way that War of the Lions is the definitive version of Tactics, I feel like that is the SNES purists will probably
Sure.
argue with me, but yeah.
Number 14, Mike Cheng says Tenchu Stealth Assassin, and he says it in all caps, so he's very happy about that Tenchu Stealth Assassin.
That is not a good game.
Yeah, really?
can
I
leave
mean,
it
I
off.
think at the time it was like pretty amazing, but
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
that was a very pubescent era for games. I think.
Yeah.
I mean, not that they're fully grown up yet, but
Yeah, we're getting there.
yeah.
Number 15, Bruce White says Xenogears.
yeah, totally.
Yeah, I love that one. Number 16, Brett Santillan says Tony Hawk's Pro Skater.
I'd go with,
Two.
two.
Yeah.
Two?
Over
Mm-hmm.
one for
I'd
No,
go
they
two
say
over.
roses are red, violets are blue. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2.
Yep.
They do say that all the time on their way out of a
Tumblr story, I've seen
relationship.
it.
Jose Antonio Sedano Castro says Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver.
Oh yeah.
You're into that one, Zach, right?
Super into that. I think it's the best Zelda game that you guys probably haven't played. It's,
Really?
Oh, dude, it's so good. Yeah, I love Soul Reaver, and not a lot of love for it these days. I feel like it's probably dropped out of the cultural zeitgeist at this point.
Yeah,
so it'd
because
be
it's
cool
like
to see it come
it's
back.
kind of mired in that like Image Comics aesthetic of the late '90s. You know, it's
Yeah.
very.
It's also part of a franchise that hasn't really
Yeah.
kept
Yeah.
doing it.
Remember there was going to be a new one, and then it got the axe.
Oh,
pretty,
right.
pretty recently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Number 18, Ian Dobbins says Resident Evil 2.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I
I
would
think like
say-
the
You know what they
original
say.
Resident Evil like has a place, you know?
Roses are red, violets are blue.
Doesn't-
Resident
no.
Evil 2.
You can't
It doesn't have the same
I took
alliteration.
Max's joke and I said it again.
stop that.
Okay.
I would say Resident Evil 1 and 2.
Yeah.
I'd gladly kick off one of the ones we talked about earlier for both of those things. 2 is awesome.
It'd be exciting to play Resident Evil 2 on PlayStation before they do the
re-release.
remaster.
I know.
Like
I can't
they did
wait for
1.
that.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
gonna be so
I
good.
really
I'll
hope
play
they
the
do
hell
that
out of
right.
it.
I hope
Yeah.
they go like just full like I hope they do for that what they did for a remake on the GameCube.
Yeah, totally.
Number 19, you knew this one was coming. Jono Knight says Final Fantasy 7.
Yep.
No
You know
brainer.
what they say.
Roses are red, violets are
Violets are-
blevin.
I sure do love Resident
All
Evil 7.
cats go to hell, dogs go to heaven. Final Fantasy 7.
We don't have to do this anymore. Luis F. Rodriguez Otero. I'm going to do that for all the Hispanic sounding
sorry,
names because I love rolling my R's. Mega Man X.
No.
Yeah.
What?
No.
Why?
That's a Super Nintendo game.
Yeah, that is a Super
Yeah.
Nintendo game.
So what?
Yeah.
It made it there.
Wasn't it like X4? 3?
Yeah, it was some nonsense.
Yeah.
So
Some
no,
nonsense.
I think we need a Mega Man game on there.
What about Legends?
Yeah, Mega Man Legends over
All right,
X.
we'll do.
Was it
we'll
8?
do a swap.
Was 8 good? I don't know.
What about The Misadventures of Trombone?
Get out of here.
Okay.
What about Dr. Wily makes a sandwich with his dad? Dr. Wily makes a sandwich with his dad.
Okay.
Keep going to the hospital to make the sandwich with my dad. Sorry. Hope he's okay, but this is a damn good sandwich. Please Photoshop that box art.
Oh my God.
21 Jade Goff says Need for Speed 3. Yeah?
I mean, I think it's
Sure.
fine to throw a
For
car.
you, Jade, anything.
Yeah, anything for you, Jade. Would you say it's fine to throw a car? Number 22, Goji Gonzalez says Loaded. That's a Max
also
Schoolhouse
good.
game right there.
I don't remember that game.
Really?
What's Loaded about?
Getting drunk.
Really? Sounds cool.
All right. So
like a
yeah,
cool game.
thumbs up. Number 23, Benjamin McConnell says Crash Team Racing.
Yes,
Which
Crash
like,
Team Racing
hold on,
rules.
can we
Yep.
put something to rest real quick? People for years have been saying that this is the best kart racing game of all time.
No, that's not
It's
true.
co-
No, but it's one of the best Mario Kart.
Yeah,
ones.
as
yes,
far as
and
it
that's a
is,
good way of
yes.
putting
As far
it.
as a Mario Kart knockoff goes, Crash Team
It is
Racing
totally
is
up
top
It's
of
up
the
there.
heap.
It's
absolutely-
really good.
I absolutely drunkenly purchased that on my PS3.
Oh,
Just
really?
in the middle of a party, like we were like somebody was like, "Can we play Mario Kart?" And I was like, "No, I don't know where it is, but we can buy this." And everyone's like, "Yeah, that's actually fine."
Yeah.
How'd that go over? Were people into it?
Yeah, people are fun.
Some of the
Okay.
courses in that game are awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's a really great one. I'm disappointed there's no other Crash so far on this list.
24, Tony Colbeck says Alundra.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a
you're
good
right.
one.
There's no other crashes on this
Cra-
list.
Crash
How do we
2
screw
Crash
that
2
up?
especially,
Needs
yeah.
to be on the like
Wrath of
Spyro 2.
Cortex.
I
Yeah.
think yeah.
All right. Well, maybe we'll swap out one of the other ones. What do you guys think of Alundra?
Yeah, I like Alundra.
Okay. Yeah. Number 25, Yardonan says Muppets Monster Adventure, my first PS1 game, which I really love because one guy on this entire list was like, "This is not a good game,
Yep.
but it was my first one, so just for me,
So
please
yeah,
put
it
that
is.
on there."
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
what about the official game of Casper the movie? I don't know why I had that game, but
Well, I
I played
like-
that all
Wait,
the
that was
time.
real?
I like the idea of like
Oh,
You
wow.
play as
I
Devon
didn't-
Sawa. That's crazy.
You play as a ghost.
I just like the idea of like you go into a store, you're in Walmart, it's 11 o'clock on Christmas Eve, and you're like, I need to get a present. You get the new PS1 Mini, you bring it home, you give it to your kid, he opens it up and flips it
Muppets.
over. There's all these classic games, and it says Muppets Monster Adventure, Donan's first PS1 game, and you're like, who's that man? And you play it anyway, because why not?
Yeah.
Number 26, we're getting to the end. Braden Korizma says Dino Crisis.
Yeah, that's such a weird game.
I know. I tried playing it again.
It is.
So
I tried playing it again on Vita. Yeah,
Yep.
no, I have it
Yep.
on Vita. I
Yep,
did
me
the same
too.
thing.
Oh, wow.
Because I was like, I love dinosaurs and I love Crisis, and Capcom's cool as hell.
Would you
So
say
let's
you were having a
Our brand
midlife
is
dino?
Crisis.
I was having a midlife Dino Crisis.
speaking of weird games,
Speaking of weird games, Ricardo Romero says Parasite Eve, number
Yeah.
27.
Parasite Eve is underrated. I feel like
Yeah.
the second one's not great, but the first one is so
Yep.
awesome.
Isn't the soundtrack by Gaino Yamashiragumi, the same people who did the Akira
I
soundtrack?
have no idea.
Possible.
I think somebody look that up for me. Let us know in the comments. Sound off.
Number 28, Jordan Billings says Siphon Filter.
Or as Ryan Clements would say, Cypher Filton.
Is that what he said?
That's an old Beyond joke.
That's right.
played
I
the
forgot about that.
He played the character Cypher Filton.
Cypher Filton.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not? Sure, I guess.
So yes, it has to be for that.
29, Matthew Fieldhouse says Wipeout. Weird one.
I
The
never played
original.
Wipeout.
Oh, really?
Original?
Yeah.
Oh, the original's awesome. I mean, it was
Yeah.
there sort of like it
So
was.
you're saying yes?
Yeah, but it was weird because I feel like in the same way we kind of crapped on Gran Turismo for not being the best of the bunch
Yeah,
and
there
not
are better
aging well
Wipeouts.
visually.
Yeah.
I think that the original Wipeout isn't that great. It's also not that fast. Like
No.
it's a
You
game
get-
based on speed, but you
get
watch
the-
it now.
The newest Wipeout on PlayStation 1. I
Yeah.
forget which that would be, but
Yeah.
And then you make sure it has the best soundtrack.
Yeah. That being said, for posterity, for like a list of PS1 games, I think Wipeout's a perfectly safe choice. And finally, number 30, Mike Cassidy says Chrono Trigger. Yes, Chrono Trigger was a SNES game, but the PlayStation version had animated cutscenes and a slew of extra features available after beating the game. Yes.
We think we already gave it the thumbs
no
up
one in
on
this
that,
room is
yeah.
going to turn down Chrono Trigger. That's a great ass game.
Did we miss anything? Dornbush said Crash 2.
I think Crash 2 has to be on there.
Yeah.
I think we need some puzzles in there. Some puzzle
Oh,
games.
You're actually right. There's
Like Puzzle Fighter 2.
Hell
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, if we're actually like breaking this down, like if this were a product that were being made, I think that
Yeah.
like there would be a lot more, it'd be a handful more like just more throwaway kind of casual games, you know,
Sure.
like silly little things. Trying to think what, like maybe 3 Extreme, like, or that, what was that?
Yep.
Run away from those green cubes game. What was that
Yep.
one?
I have no idea.
Spider. Where
Spider?
you play as a spider that runs around and has guns for arms for no reason.
Where was Jumpin' Jack over here? He didn't make the list. That man.
What about you? Did you miss anything?
I like. I'm kind of torn on getting the original Resident Evil on there somewhere. I think that's just a cool game just to have forever. I'm one of those weird people that can actually put up with the tank controls on it. I sound like an idiot, but I think that they kind of like sort of effectively help build the fear and tension in that game because you're not only fighting dogs, you're fighting yourself with the controls. But yeah, I think all in all is a good list. This is a product I'd love to see made.
Be so cool.
Yeah, especially like $60, you get a little PS1.
That would be great.
It never gets a discrete era. Yeah, I'm into that.
Yeah, I mean, if they threw like some sort of Android device in there and figured out how to make it run stuff, and then,
Yeah.
you know, that'd be great. I'd like that a lot.
So yeah, thank you so much, guys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
We also got a few questions from the group.
yeah.
Should we go through those real quick? Max, did you
yeah.
want to talk about some of the big games out this week that we'll get some impressions on soon, probably next week?
Yeah. We're in the middle of PSN Play or whatever where they put out a game every week. This week, Headlander came out. We mentioned this, I think maybe last week, but it's Double Fine and Adult Swim kind of teamed up, and it's this sort of like goofy 70s sci-fi thing where you're a disembodied head and you basically have to take over different bodies and walk around.
A lot of Metroidvania elements.
yeah.
I'm going to start that one tonight.
It
so.
seems to be getting a pretty good reception.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll
people
talk
are
about that
saying
next week.
This is a weird thing to say about a game, but I love the logo. Like
Yeah.
the logo, the logo
yeah.
itself.
Oh,
the
if
first
you
time I
guys-
saw it, I was like, oh, I'm in. Like,
Yeah.
Have you guys seen the PS4 theme for it?
No.
Oh my God! People were tweeting out this morning. It's like one of the most gorgeous themes. It's like 5. It looks like 70s funk art Power Rangers. It's like
awesome.
5 silhouettes in a row of spacemen, teenagers, like with different neon helmets.
Okay.
It's really gorgeous.
Sold. And then of course I think next week we've got Abzu, that scuba
Yeah.
game.
Yep,
Yeah.
Marty just started that, so we'll have impressions on that
excited
too.
about that.
I
I
just got Adrift. I'll talk about that next week
Oh,
too.
nice.
Okay, cool.
I downloaded Hyperlight Drifter, which is that's been on PC for a second. It's
Yeah.
sort of this pixel art kind of retro. It's actually the same same guy did music for Fez, so it feels very Fezzy.
Yeah.
Fezzy.
Fezzy.
Yeah, Fezzy. And then
Festive?
but it's also festive. But it's
Offensive.
I was playing a bit of it. It feels kind of like
stop.
kind of Zelda meets Secret of Mana.
So that's the biggest
Yeah.
comparison that it's got.
Yeah.
It's like it's very
Zelda.
Zelda-esque, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, personally, that to me, that's hands down. Like that style of gameplay matched with the art style of that game,
Yeah.
I'm all in.
Yeah,
the
And
combat
I
is-
didn't know that it was coming to PlayStation 4, and I'm gonna run home and
It's
buy it.
supposed
today.
to come to
I
Vita
was-
soon,
20
as soon
bucks.
as
I was
$20.
waiting for PlayStation, so I'm super excited.
Oh, it's coming to Vita. I hope it's crossplay.
Dude, if it's coming to Vita,
That might be
yeah.
on back burner, but they were talking about it ages ago, so I don't know. And that's I've been playing a little bit. I like it. I think it's really gorgeous. I mean, I was playing it in the office, so I think it's kind of the sort of game you need to really just be alone for, because it's just really kind of isolating and haunting and weird. But combat wise, it's pretty hectic. Like basically, the whole thing is that you sort of do this blink teleport thing, sort of in the same way you do like a dodge in Dark Souls. And your melee recharges your blaster, whatever your
Oh, cool.
thing, and you can level these things up. But it'll kick your ass. Like it definitely
It's tough?
It pushes back.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and it's it's curious. I might need to grind a little bit and like upgrade some stuff. But you have to go around and explore and get like little gems. And it's what I really like about it is it's pretty much nonverbal. Like there's no like you go up and talk to somebody and they'll show you images. Like, it's all iconography as opposed to like, you must find Kamalto the Bird King. Tell him the secrets of his feathered friends.
If I have to find Kamalto the Bird King one more time, I'm going to throw up.
Yeah. And then there's Among the Sleep, which I never got to check out. That's a game where you play as a baby.
Yeah.
And it's a horror game. Or you're a baby and there's monsters around.
I just feel like if as a baby everything would be horrifying.
Yeah, but what if it's actually a monster, but you're playing it and you're crawling around on the floor? I don't know. It messes with the perspective. I remember seeing like a preview of this ages ago when they were first like bringing it to PC, and I was just like, this looks like a literal nightmare.
So yeah, if you're kind of a little bored in that weird calm before the storm of all the AAA madness that's going to start hitting in September, October, November, and December, there's some cool stuff on PS4 right now. So go dig that out.
Nice
actually, they also had a cool Comic-Con sale over the weekend.
I saw that. Yeah, that was good stuff.
I picked up Infamous Second Son and Deadpool because I haven't ever played either of those games. So I'm pretty stoked.
Cool.
Deadpool's a ton of fun. Yeah. It's totally like a good it's absolutely the kind of game you would rent in a younger pre-digital day. And like it's not great, but it's totally enjoyable.
Yeah.
We had Nolan North on Up at Noon a few years ago, and he kind of told us off to the side about how he told us about the recording process for that game and how they would go in with a script and then just basically completely ad-lib. And he was like, I said some of the most offensive stuff I've ever said in my entire life on that show. And I don't know where it is. I don't know if it'll ever get released. I feel like there's a market for it now. Like, not even a market, just put it out for free. But it's probably very incriminating.
I heard they cut about 5 hours out of the campaign there.
Yeah.
Like it's not, I think it's probably around 8 hours or something.
Yeah.
But
hopefully those games are still on sale. I just realized that Comic-Con has come and gone.
Yeah.
So,
No, but it's a good PSA, honestly, if you turn on your PS4 and your Vita and you
they
don't
do these flash sales.
and you don't check the store regularly, go in there and dig around. I've been buying games all summer that were just like, oh, that's $2? No brainer.
Infamous was $10 and I played the first few hours of it last night and it's awesome. It's super fun. So
now it's time for Rapid Fire.
That's right.
Rapid Fire is this thing we do every week where Brian goes into the Facebook group. That's facebook.com/group/podcastbeyond.
Hell yeah.
And he says, hey, everybody, I'm about to do Rapid Fire. And then we pull a handful of your questions and then we answer them very quickly.
What do we get this week, Max?
The first one is from AMC Sucks. Now, this is an interesting username.
The theater chain?
Yeah, the theater
channel. Yeah.
And then this person's comment was, why was there a lukewarm reaction to Days Gone? I think the obvious part is that they are zombies, freakers, whatever, but the game looks awesome. That should be the most important thing.
It doesn't look nearly as good as The Walking Dead, which is on AMC.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean...
So actually, real quick, these questions were culled from our YouTube page. Alana grabbed those.
Okay, cool. Well,
I was like, how can you be on Facebook with the name AMC Sucks and just be walking around? Oh, it's my aunt. Here's a picture of me and my uncle.
I don't know. People got
going to visit my dad in the hospital. Make sandwiches.
Okay, Dr.
What are you talking about? What did I miss?
I think
I don't even know.
To me personally, like I've reached my absolute saturation point with zombies.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to see any more friggin' zombies in any games. Like take those zombies and get them out of there.
The game saying the game looks awesome is sort of in an E3 demo we saw. It looked awesome. But it's still a game where you're fighting just hundreds and hundreds of zombies, and it's all kind of gritty, and there's motorcycles, and it's like, I don't know. I don't think you can say the game looks awesome when its most kind of fundamental core concept is something that a lot of people are tired of.
Yeah. And it was honestly like a little bit disappointing to me because it's from Sony Bend. And like they've been working on something in secret for a long time, and then when they finally revealed it, it just fell flat. It felt a little derivative to me.
Like knowing the pedigree and to an extent of what they showed, I'm still interested enough in the project. I just think I thought what they showed specifically, it's different from showing certain things of The Last of Us they showed in the demo.
Exactly.
Like that Last of Us demo that they showed back a few years ago was a very specific cut of the game that really worked as a 5-minute showcase, whereas this didn't feel the same.
Well, I think The Last of Us cut also felt way more personal. Like there was a sort of gravity and weight to the character interactions. There was that sort of like, I don't know, this very gnashing, visceral human element of like, I have to protect this girl, I have to save this person. This guy got hit in the head with a brick and a shotgun. That said, I feel like and I talked about this on the show before. I feel like I'm way more optimistic about this game than most are. I think the environments look gorgeous. The setting's really cool. Sam Witwer in general like puts his name on some pretty cool projects. I'm interested to see what they do with the dynamic of hundreds of zombies pouring out like a faucet.
Yeah.
Like I played video games where you're fighting a bunch of zombies or a handful of zombies, but in terms of that sort of like World War Z
Such
thing,
sheer
volume.
where there's just tons of them, like I don't know how that's going to play. If that works its way into like puzzles or really cool set pieces, and that's that's the hook that separates itself from every other zombie game, then I'm in. If all of this pans out to just be another zombie game, then
Yeah.
Yeah.
That said,
Well,
we also saw the most like manicured, just
Yep.
polished little corner of it.
Yeah.
So the second somebody goes and actually plays it and comes back and says, "There's some really interesting stuff here," I'll go, "Okay, I'll check it out." You know?
Well, I think this reaction is like the exact reason why AMC Sucks PhD hit the nail on the head by describing it as lukewarm, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
all of us are like, it looks fine, but none of us are saying like, I absolutely won't play this.
Yeah.
game.
No,
Well,
So,
I thought that the demo focused a lot on shooting, which
Yeah.
is to me the least interesting aspect of this because it's futile. Like there's no amount of shooting that you can do that will completely destroy all of those things. So why bother?
the
So
most
when he's
interesting aspect, sick wheelies on your motorcycle.
yeah, sick
Yeah.
willies,
Yeah,
cool
I do-
hops, jumps,
I do a
six
lot of,
skids.
I do a lot of gun stuff in games. I don't do quite enough motorcycle stuff, so I'd
Yep.
be excited to see what I can do with those little motorcycles.
Yeah, You drive off a whole ramp of those turd dudes.
All right, here's a real stupid
Norman
question.
Freakers.
Game Pudding asks, which video game character would you go gay for?
Ooh.
I'm gonna say Big Boss.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's that whole recording where he and Ocelot have like a shower fight where they start wrestling around. That's in the game.
Yeah.
It's in Phantom Pain.
Also, he's clean.
Yeah. He's got
I was
that-
gonna say Joel from The Last of Us, but then I'm like, that dude's disgusting.
Yeah. He's
Yeah.
probably
Yeah.
pretty
He's
smelly.
grody as hell.
I
He
mean-
probably washes his nards in a river.
If I didn't know all the killing he did Nathan Drake, I could see feasibly.
Yeah, he's handsome, right?
That's a good answer.
He's got the half tuck. He's
Yeah.
well dressed.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go Naked Snake because he doesn't have the weird robot arm and he's already in the nude. So.
I don't know. It'd be pretty funny. I don't know. Have a
Those
scary
those
claw hand.
jorts on Crash Bandicoot. I mean,
I was
they
gonna
get me
say
pretty
I was
well.
actually gonna say Crash Bandicoot because
Yeah.
I'm married and I feel like it'd be easier to come back to the kitchen table and be
That's
like,
a fair answer.
honey,
If you
Yeah.
did sex on an animal,
if I did sex on a cartoon animal rather than an adult man, my wife would be like,
He does an adorable dance like he'd entertain you every
Yeah.
night. Have you never seen he does like a weird
I
dance?
think
I don't
maybe
know.
you should just stop
It's-
right now.
He wears
It's
some
part
jean
of the
shorts.
game.
He's got a tribal
Not
tattoo. He
lying.
never wears a shirt. I mean,
so also there's less mystery there.
No,
like
totally.
I've seen
You know what
what
you're getting.
80% of him looks like,
Yeah.
aside from the
jort area.
Crash Pandicus.
don't ever say that word on this show again. That's a terrible. This is Game Pudding. This is a bad question for us. We're gonna get in trouble. All right. Do we have another question? Yeah, the other question was all the 30 games that we're going to talk about.
Oh yeah, we did it.
Anything else you guys wanted to mention? Just talk about, or
Any other
how
Comic-Con
are you doing?
stories? Because this was my first Comic-Con with you guys, and it
Oh,
was
yeah.
it was honestly impressive as all hell to see how much effort everyone put in.
It was
especially
insane,
you
right?
guys.
You were
And,
in the Hard Rock in the Edge Theater the entire
Yeah,
time.
yeah. I
Sitting
was
next to the
pretty much
door that
there.
would open every 15 minutes.
with all the famous people.
And another celebrity would walk in, and you're just kind of sitting there. Your job was to write news stories based on the interviews that were happening on the set,
Yeah,
which is
while
really
juggling
cool.
wherever else the news was coming from. But yeah, so it was this constant flood of people coming in and watching you guys handle all of that as amazingly as you could, and
Mm-hmm.
running the live show and making sure everything was on time.
Thank you.
And it was fantastic.
I will say, like, one grievance from a game perspective is that Pokemon Go is completely it suffocated and bottlenecked trade shows.
Yeah.
Even more. Like, it was already it was like one thing I've watched this happen over the last 6-7 years.
Yeah.
I think my first Comic-Con was New York Comic-Con, which I think was 8 or 9 years ago. 8 years ago, maybe. Yeah. And no people, like, smartphones back then were like, it just wasn't
yeah.
it just wasn't the same amount of things. Like, you either got a text or you got a phone call, otherwise you didn't use it. You weren't like checking your email. To everyone having a smartphone, which got kind of be cumbersome and a nuisance, to everyone constantly on their smartphones.
Pokemon,
Like, Max and I were straight up like, actually Max yelled like, get out of the way, get off your phone and get out of the way. Like,
Yeah.
I've
No,
done,
I mean, it's
I've
like
done that at trade shows hauling camera gear.
It's like
'cause
driving.
like-
Like, it's incredibly difficult to walk around a Comic Con to begin with, and this also applies to GDC, PAX, whatever. If you're in a crowded environment, be aware of your surroundings. Like, if you sense that there are people walking behind you and they're trying to get around you, get out of the way. And if you
Yeah.
don't sense this because you're staring at your phone, just go stand behind a pillar. Like, find a place
Yeah.
where it looks like go stand against the wall. Like,
to me, I think of them as cigarettes in that they have a direct negative impact on a 7-foot radius of people around you.
Yeah.
So duck behind something or pull off to the side if you're going to smoke.
Yeah.
The same thing, like, you're putting.
You're gonna catch Pokemon.
If you're
gonna
gonna
catch a
if you're gonna catch
Charizard,
Pokemon,
stand
like,
outside.
go over there.
Yeah, but
you
at
know?
the same time, it was funny when I'd I had it open on my phone while I was sitting in the room, and
Doorbell,
occasionally
you're part of the
I had to.
problem.
I know, but I was sitting. I wasn't walking.
Yeah.
And occasionally a celebrity would like look over, like I saw them glancing just to see, because definitely some of them were playing.
Oh,
and then,
yeah, they're all
and the
playing.
others know if they're not playing. So it was just that funny thing of like seeing like, oh, someone from The Walking Dead is looking over at the phone.
No,
or,
that
like,
was-
Grant Gustin is like seeing it.
That was like that's like first of all, like one of the icebreakers you ask every celebrity at Comic-Con is, how's your Comic-Con? Because
Yeah.
it's just sort of being like, what do you think of this weather, you know?
Yeah.
But the new one this year was like, hey, so you guys playing Pokemon Go? Because
Yeah.
chances are either they are or a friend is,
know.
or it's something that everyone is interacting with on some level, whether they're playing it themselves
Yeah.
or one of their cast members is, or their directors like won't put it down and just shoot the scene, like stuff like that. So
Yeah.
it's kind of cool.
Yeah. You know what else is kind of cool is hearing Tom Hiddleston's words coming directly out of his mouth and into your ears.
Yeah.
He
was a-
walked into the room.
Yeah.
We locked eyes, and
We locked eyes.
Speaking of characters, I would go gay for Tom Hiddleston.
He's a
As
beautiful
real-life
man.
human. He was wonderful.
But like, it was really weird. It's like, I mean, we all know what his voice sounds like. He's Loki. He's got that.
Yeah.
Cool, he's got that cool ass voice, and like, he walked by and just like said something, and I was like, huh, that's weird. That didn't go like into a camera and microphone and through a post processing center and then onto a Blu-ray that I bought at Best Buy. That came out of that man's mouth and went right into my ears. So that's pretty cool.
The we do
That man made some noises, and now they're inside my head.
We do a live show for 3 days in a row at Comic-Con. It's Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And Saturday at like 3:30 has become this sort of like running or annual block where the cast of The Walking Dead comes by, or whoever's still alive from The Walking Dead, which is like for the last few years the same few people in a row. And it always coincides right when a whole bunch of trailers drop.
Yeah.
So Andrew Lincoln, who plays Rick on that show, comes over and he puts his hand on our editor-in-chief, Steve Butt's shoulder, and he goes, "Whoa, what are the trailers this year?"
Yeah.
And they sit there and they watch. They watched the Wonder Woman trailer.
yeah,
They watched the King
Justice
Kong
League.
trailer.
Cool,
and-
get in here. We got King Kong trailer.
yeah, and Carl's there, and it's great, and they all hang out. And so I interviewed Rick, Carl, and Negan this year, and right before and right after we did the interview, they ran over and they watched all the trailers with everybody else in the room.
Yeah.
So there's just a crowd of IGN editors geeking out of all the cool new comic trailers, and the cast of The Walking Dead just as excited.
That's one of the most surreal moments
It's
that
so cool.
I've ever had, because like I watch that show every week, and it's one of my favorite shows on television. And I literally was standing right next to him watching the Kong trailer and goofing about it. Like
Yeah.
it was really cool. And I will say that those three dudes that you just mentioned, like maybe some of the classiest dudes at Comic-Con,
yeah.
because
Yeah.
they were on our set. They were super funny, really nice. And then I watched them come off of our set and go down the rows to each of the people that was working on the live show, myself included, and like make eye contact or shake a hand when they could and be like, "Hey, thank you so much for having us on." Like it was so awesome.
Incredible guys.
really nice dudes.
The kid who plays Carl, we like shared this moment last year, and we were laughing about it again this year, where we have like catered snacks and like food comes in, and there's like beverages and stuff like that. It's just like a little craft service table type of thing. And he was eating a Reese's Nutrageous last year, and I was like, dude, I think it's like so cool that like you get to like, you know, that you're a celebrity, but you still like eat snacks and stuff like that. Like I see a lot of people like they don't eat anything because they're celebrities, and he was like, well, yeah, also I'm a kid.
Yeah.
And I was sitting there, I was like about to open a Nutrageous and bite into it. I was like, oh, that's right, I have like 25 years on you. And I'm
I
fat.
think that was my favorite part of the show, was seeing them both as fans of each other and as just normal
Yeah.
people. Like when the Walking, or no, it was Game of Thrones cast.
Game of
was
Thrones
there,
was coming off, and
and
Walking
Arrow,
Dead was.
well, there was Arrow,
Yeah.
and the Arrow cast wanted to take pictures with
Yep.
the Game of Thrones guys. There was just this funny thing of like Green Arrow is taking a photo with Sir Davos because he's there, and it's,
And they're because they're watching each other's shows, you know,
That's so
like
cool. I love
it
that.
was great. And then just also, yeah, like having normal conversations. I got to speak to Bruce Campbell, and he spoke to me for 5 minutes about why wool socks are better than non-wool socks.
Joe,
Just straight
every
up 5 minutes
single
about that. It was
interaction that
wonderful.
I've had with Bruce Campbell is
Yeah.
that exact thing, where he just like you introduce yourself, you're like, "Oh, hey, Bruce, I'm a big fan of your work,"
Yeah.
and then he'll just start talking to you about some random. Like I've met
Yeah.
him 3 or 4 different times, and every time it's like, "Oh, this is weird."
Yeah.
sure,
But I loved it. And,
Yeah, it's awesome.
And it's just great seeing them all because they're all there to do a job. Also.
Yeah.
And I
last
think-
year
I
there
think
was this
are you
incredible
gonna-
no, real quick, there was this incredible moment. Did you see it?
Yeah, the Fillion thing?
Yeah, with Nathan Fillion and Bruce Campbell had this very Han Solo, Billy D. Williams thing where they came at each other and was like, "You swindler, you dirty bag of donut," and then they went in and gave each other a hug. Like I thought they were mad at each other for a second, and then it was that
Yeah.
you know that whole Predator
And
moment
they
of
knew
like,
that like everyone was just like, oh, what?
yeah.
Yeah.
Or I saw, Dennis Leary and Mike Tyson last year were just like hey man, I haven't seen you since that fight in Vegas. And he's like, yeah, no, it's a really good fight. And they give each other a hug. It was great. Yeah,
It's just used to do your famous Mike Tyson impression.
I know.
Of course.
Like Jamie Lee Curtis asked me where the bathrooms were, and I'm like, oh, she's got to poop. That's funny.
It's because all that Activia.
Yeah.
All right.
Speaking of all that, like we interviewed the cast of all that. We did Double Dare. Watch all our videos. There's so many cool
Double
things
Dare
we
thing
did.
is the best.
Yeah, go watch Max and I on the set of Double Dare. It's
amazing.
probably the happiest I've ever been on camera.
Yeah, I got to unbox like a Nickelodeon box of toys with Mark Summers, and I was making dirty jokes about Cat Dog and Angry Beavers. Anyway,
It's a good time to be alive. I interviewed Justin Timberlake. What the hell?
That was an amazing interview. You and Terry with Anna Kendrick too. It's
just so weird.
I met DMX, but that had nothing to do with Comic-Con.
Yeah, that was so weird. DMX was staying in our hotel.
And
I was like,
Rough Riders.
Yeah, I was like, I came back really late, and I was like, "There's a bunch of like men with motorcycles in like the front of this hotel, and it's awfully late for them to be doing motorcycle stuff." And like, then I'm like, those are very familiar R's on their jackets. I'm like, wait a second, those are two R's right next to each other.
There was a jazz band that played every night in the lobby of our hotel, and we came back one night after dinner. It was like maybe 9 o'clock, and DMX was just completely apropos of nothing, was in the lobby singing with them. He was just fronting their band. It was so weird.
We came back from the IGN party, and there was a row of motorcycles outside, and Zach was like kind of goofy and had a few drinks. I mean, it was kind of just like, hey, what if I knocked all these motorcycles over? What did you say? You wanted to ghost ride them?
I was like, let's grab a couple of these motorcycles and hit the town. And the Rough Riders, who I did not know that's who they were, did not think that was very funny.
Well, it was really funny because I was waiting there, and I didn't have my phone on me, and there were this Uber of like just the most squeaky queen looking like millennials pops up, and they're just like these like kids, and I'm like, how are you allowed to be up this late? Like, what are you doing? They all look like they should be at VidCon, and I'm like, oh my god, these Rough Riders are probably gonna attack these poor kids. I don't know, they're so rough. They're just the Rough Riders. And then I was like, I'm gonna get my phone. No one's gonna believe me. And so I come back down, and like DMX is posing for photos with all these like adorable little kids, and then I'm like, excuse me, Mr. X, and it's like one of his crew was just like, hey, I'm JJ. You want a picture with the dog? And I was just like, yeah, sure. And I'm wearing this Hawaiian shirt. He's like, Mr. Y5 over here. And I was just like, yeah, right. So I got a picture of him making like the hang 10 gesture. I'm just like,
oh, that's what that was. I was like, are there new gang signs?
No, he's like, oh, Hawaii.
So weird.
Yeah, so that was a fun series of days. So definitely go check out our coverage, and you can always keep track of our weird little day-to-day moments on Twitter. I'm Max Scoville. Brian is Agent Bizzle. Zach is Zacharias D. And Dornbush, what are you on there?
Well, I do need to change it to Donnie
Jornbush.
I don't know my name anymore.
DiGiorno?
There's clearly Comic-Con still hitting me. I'm at JM Dornbush.
Perfect.
Okay. Right on.
Cool.
Simple.
Well, thank you guys all for listening. And once again, go join that Podcast Beyond Facebook group. It's facebook.com/group/Podcast Beyond. And of course, we also have a YouTube channel that we're doing stuff with, which is youtube.com/IGN Beyond. And we had a meeting this morning about how we're going to put more Let's Plays on there. We're going to get weird. You can all watch the video that we're currently in, which is a weird thing to. So if you're watching it here, then that's where you are.
Yeah, subscribe to that channel. We are not currently the most subscribed IGN show on YouTube, and we got to be number one because that's just the way we roll.
Sir Daniel. Medieval. Sir Daniel.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. That's great.
Yep. Just wanted to make sure.
There was an SNL sketch about a guy who has a reference for a conversation 45 minutes after it happens, and it's perfect.
Yep.
Nice. Well, on that note, Beyond.
Beyond. Is this the first episode we didn't curse?
I mean, I don't know.
Hell, that's good.